This is a brief video of a pendulum quartz clock, and the brand is Leick. Leick is a company out of Sheboygan, Wisconsin that was founded in 1910, and they are famous for a good quality oak furniture, and the case of the clock happens to be oak. It's a solid oak, very nice case. And the front opens probably to allow dusting off the glass, cleaning up the glass. And it also has a pendulum that is ticking. Usually the modern clocks have a pendulum that doesn't make any sound at all. The modern clocks have a pendulum that consists of interaction of a magnet attached to the pendulum with a couple of coils or a split coil inside. One coil detects the movement and the other one gives it a kick at the proper time. So these pendulums are usually quiet, so they don't make any noise at all. And this one is moving fast because it doesn't have the weight, the actual pendulum hanging to it. But these are typical modern clocks. They make no noise whatsoever. However, this one makes a ticking noise. So it sounds like the old-timey clocks. That pendulum would be the major element that controls the movement and the accuracy of the clock. In this case, the pendulum is strictly decorative. It doesn't do anything, just makes the ticking noise. But if you stop the pendulum, it doesn't affect the work of the clock. The clock mechanism works independently, and I'm going to look in the back and show you what it looks like inside. Now the clock has a cover, back cover, that has to be raised up and then moved out just like that. And what we see inside is that it's supplied with a D-size battery, single battery, and it also has the gong, the chime, that is mechanical. It operates with actual little hammer striking a couple of rods to create a sound. Now the mechanism is just marked Quartz, Japan. It doesn't have any other markings. This little switch turns to silent, either silent this way or chime. So if I turn it to chime, it will ring the hour. Now the pendulum, if I move it, let me just move it off the hook, and if I move the pendulum, you can see the gear moving along with it, and this is where the ticking sound comes from. You can actually see it. I'm going to stand this clock vertical so you can see how the pendulum makes its ticking sound. This is how the pendulum works. Now this is a quick movement. Now the clock without the pendulum makes a continuous buzzing sound, which is typical for the so-called silent sweep clocks. The buzzing sound means that the step motor works with a higher frequency than one step per second. So I'm going to put a second hand and see if we can detect how fast the step motor works. I'm removing now the brass nut that is holding the minute hand, just to have access to the center of, and you can see that in the center there is a pin for the potential second hand. So I have one that I made out of a little piece of wire and an insulation, and I'm going to see if I can stick that to the top of that center pin, and we'll see what happens. Here you go, and this is actually a silent sweep. So it's a very nice clock with a silent sweep second. So the step motor doesn't work every second, doesn't make a step every second, but it's actually more frequent. So if I put a second hand in this clock, which I may do, actually, if I find a nice second, because it looks so nice. It looks very nice. But the clock is perfectly silent because of that. Now I put the nut back on. It's made of brass. And if I want to put a second hand, I would have to drill a hole in the center of it and then place a second hand on it, on the top of it. The clock was built either early 1980s or mid 1980s. This is when the quartz clocks began to hit the market and became popular. The clock is put back together, and we are going to listen to the chime in 4 minutes at 11 o'clock. So this is a very nice natural sound of a real metal gong, and unlike the electronic sounds that come from speakers, they are not bad. They are sometimes pretty good imitations of that natural sound. However, when you hear it, when you hear the actual chime from a metal gong, you know it's real. So this is it. This is the information about the clock that I acquired. This one cost me $6.95 at Salvation Army, and I bought it because I really liked the kind of 1980s technology and also the beautiful wood, the lovely look of the clock. It's not damaged and just needed a little bit of cleanup and dusting off, and it's a clock that will run another 20 years, maybe longer. This is a clock that had a leaky battery, and this was only $1.50 at the thrift store. Nobody wanted to buy it because of the condition of the clock and the battery compartment. Now this one has a chime that it's got nice Westminster bells, and this is why I bought it. I just want to use the electronics out of it. I can still clean it up, however, the damage may be pretty extensive. So I'm posting this as a warning that you shouldn't wait until your clock stops to replace the battery, but rather mark it in your calendar, in your cell phone, every year at the time when you want to replace all batteries in all your electronic clocks, and that way you don't have to worry about leaks. Once in a while, a good, even a brand name battery will leak prematurely, but usually they will stay good for a year. So mark it in your calendar, in your scheduler, to replace the battery every single year. Don't wait until the clock stops, because sometimes this may be too late and the leak may damage, just as it did in this case. Now I'm going to demonstrate the chimes, the Westminster bell, and I can do it by pressing this button here, and this is the little speaker that makes this sound.